I did want to get to your other colleague, Joe Rogan. Humongous rise. I mean, I grew up watching Fear Factor. A lot of people are like, oh, that's the Fear Factor guy. And he's kind of one of the pioneers in UFC, a lot in educating people in MMA and broadcasting and stuff. And just see where he's at today. That Spotify deal,
Yeah.
$100+ million. Kind of where have you seen Joe Rogan's rise? And from your standpoint, what's it been like in your shoes? Because you're there with him for every pay-per-view card.
It's incredible, and certainly I don't take that seat for granted. The first time I ever worked with him was in 2012 at UFC 155. I got the call on like 3 days' notice to do my first pay-per-view, and he embraced me the same way then that he did early 2017, I think it was, when I became the #1 guy, and we've become great friends. It's funny, people always ask, like, what do you guys talk about backstage? It's like, we talk about fighting. I mean, we talk about other stuff. We talk about coffee, whatever, but the conversation almost always circles back to fighting because we are just so passionate about our love of mixed martial arts, and we don't get that many opportunities to talk about it. So we talk a lot about fighting, but it's incredible. I don't have enough superlatives for that guy. He's the greatest of all time. I'm very disappointed that he hasn't been given more national recognition, even though he don't give a shit, I can assure you. But how has this man not been nominated for a Sports Emmy in the United States of America, given how long he's been? I know it's an old boys club a little bit, but I wish he would get more mainstream credit for just how good an analyst he is. And the last thing I'll say, I'm a little long-winded on this, but he worked in a two-man booth for 20 years. And then come 2017, it's like, by the way, Goldie's not coming through that door, and you're also in a three-man booth, which is a totally different navigation as a broadcaster. And he didn't bat an eye, and humbly, I would say, I think he's having more fun doing this job now than he ever has before, and hopefully we keep him having fun, and he does this for a long time.
An absolute shame that he doesn't have that Emmy. I mean, it's
just a nomination, It's like, are they ignoring the sport entirely to not give him that acknowledgement? I don't get it.
But I think the fans and the people that watch truly appreciate the greatness when they see it.
Yeah.
Some things don't have to be talked about, especially the people that don't have to toot their own horn, that have to say, oh, I've done this, X, Y, and Z. Their actions certainly speak louder than their words.
That's very true, and you put it well. And the different broadcasting combinations for him, too, is something that I don't think much was made of. It's just, well, Rogan's the greatest of all time, so he can adjust, and he's adjusted masterfully. But think about it. If you're in a two-man booth, right? And again, I cut my teeth with the UFC in a two-man booth. But if you're in a two-man booth and I stop talking, there's only one guy who could chime in. And then when he's done, there's no one else that's going to chime in except for me. So I can let it breathe, and dead air is our friend, right? Because there's TV. You want to let a little silence. But in a three-man booth, there are two people who could chime in. So when Joe stops talking, I don't immediately fire back because DC's sitting there. So you do have to feel that out a little bit. And I give Joe a lot of credit for having like 20 years in a two-man booth. And you even saw Bisping this weekend, right? He's been doing two-man booths. It's a different breed when you got to share the ball.